thank you so much for showing up to Keeping It 100. This is the podcast where we talk about the real things going on in life, where we dive in and we share kind of behind the scenes, right? What is really going on in life and how are we all showing up? And we love to be honest and we love to keep it real. So I could not have a more appropriate guest on today than my good buddy, Alec Walsh. Alec is one of those folks that you call it how you see it and you tell it how it is. And that is one of the things I love so much about you, Alec. And I'm so grateful to have you on here today. Thank you.
Of course. I can't thank you enough. You've been such a pivotal part, both in the communities and ecosystems we're in. And so it's such always an honor just to be your colleague, but also your friend. So thank you.
Thank you. I remember we met, it's almost 2 years ago.
Yep.
In Phoenix. And if I remember correctly, I was eavesdropping on a conversation. You maybe don't realize I was eavesdropping on a conversation you were having. And I'm listening and I was like, I need to know this guy. And it had been a long day. We were all tired and we were pretty loopy, I feel like. It was such an intense long day. It was probably 10 o'clock at night. We were all kind of saying our goodbyes. And I just couldn't help myself. And I leaned into the conversation. And of course, you don't think anything of it. You're like, right on. Who's this? And I want to say we probably stood around and talked for another hour.
For sure.
At least because we chit chat.
Yes, we do.
Behind the scenes, guys, we've been chatting for an hour before we actually And yeah, we had some great conversations. And I think we just knew at that moment we were going to be buddies and we just really connected on a deep level. So I really appreciate you being here today.
Of course.
I know I could introduce you and tell everybody what you're all about, but I would do a poor job compared to you because you are very passionate about your vision. If you're in Owners Club, which is a Pace Morenbeek little side community, we all have a 5-year goal, which we call our Mount Everest. And you've got an eloquent Mount Everest, and it's really impactful. So could you share that with everybody?
Absolutely. So our internal metric ties directly to our goal, because without being able to measure it, what are we kind of throwing the dart at? We are feeding, employing, or housing 100,000 people through real estate or business acquisitions over the next 5 years. And we have financials tied to that, but something important is that we wanted it to be people-centric first because we can sneeze our way to whatever financial goal the company or the entire holdco has tied to it. But without the people behind it, without the measurable difference in the impact, in my opinion, I don't think you're going to get there as eloquently.
That's why I had you say that, because you speak so clearly to that. And I couldn't agree more. If your business isn't people-centered and people first, I don't think you're going to ever meet your true potential. You might meet a financial goal. That's pretty easy to meet. You can step on people to get there. But are you reaching your true potential? I don't think so. And that's, to me, what it's all about. The purpose of life is living our purpose, right? And we're both, again, that's why we jive so well, is we're both, very purpose driven and really want to support other human beings. So, and that's why we're here. That's what this podcast is all about, because getting to where we're at was not an easy road. Being an entrepreneur is not an easy road. And we can make it look easy. Social media sure as heck can make it look easy, right? I came back recently from a trip to Costa Rica with my daughter. Oh, it's like, wow, look at Tracy. She's got this big business and she's surfing in Costa Rica. How cool. Yeah, but what you don't know, right, is all the other pieces that are happening behind the scenes, right? You maybe see the photo, but you didn't realize that before that good photo, I was tumbling upside down for 5 minutes under the water and couldn't, right? And that's
getting dishwasher, yeah.
So I'm going to dive right in. I ask everybody this question first because I think it is so important. We're off the hamster wheel, right? We are doing the thing that most people aren't doing. And we kind of unscripted ourselves. We broke away from that traditional script, right? We decided we're not going to play it safe anymore. We're not, coloring in the lines. We're not settling for mediocrity. What sparked your decision to really take that leap into entrepreneurship? I know there's got to be a story behind that, and I'd love for you to share that with us.
Oh, certainly. That's a fantastic question as an opener, first off.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, I think where you come from plays a significant role in kind of future casting. And you can be a pivotal change and shift to that, but I do think a lot of your significance can be steeped in how and where you came from, first off. So something that I value and I was incredibly fortunate to have was my father was an entrepreneur. My father was an electrical contractor. He had found a really good niche. And something that I say often is I was fortunate enough to have a father who never had to call anybody his boss and never would. Like, it was just so not his fiber. And I definitely got that growing up. And it was something that I aligned with. And there were multiple iterations, kind of. It wasn't this straight line. And I know that would be really good for social media to have it be the straight linear formula. I worked outside of a 9-to-5 multiple times. I was on retainers, and I was a consultant, and I was doing requests for proposals, and we were bidding, and I still had a job, or I had a business, and I was in the military, and I was in school. And so it gave me the fast twitch muscle fibers to be able to be default action oriented. And that background, though it was so nonlinear then, it created a really good culmination of skills to put me in the position where, from a business acquisition or a real estate acquisition and raising the capital to do that from people, I can speak to a lot of experience previously. And to succinctly answer that question, COVID was a big catalyst for me. It was kind of the last shift away from a W-2. That was the last time I had anything that resembled it. And I had the opportunity. I was traveling all the time for my work, and I had asked to work remote, and then COVID happened, and I said, hey, I'm going to leave. Like, I had the business plan. I had everything in the background. They let me work remote. So I started to plan my escape, and I'm glad I had those extra kind of months of roadway, if you will. And I ended up moving out of kind of the fear of it, just kind of headlong into consulting as an engineer. And I had a supplier, a vendor at the time of one of my customers who was looking at a business, or was looking to exit his business. And it was something he hadn't mentioned. I brought it up on a call. And then he rattled off his P&L at me off the top of his head, knew the guy for all of 5 minutes. And I was like, well, I'm the one who asked and had no idea what to do from a business acquisition standpoint. I had started businesses. I had worked in mixed use development. I'd worked as an engineer. I had no idea. I just asked the question.
I love that.
So I went through this really arduous process, but created a really good workflow and learned from a lot of people in that ecosystem how to acquire that type of asset. And I'm so glad I did. And I remember going through that process. And if I could give a little bit of the story of what solidified that. I remember going through that process, quit my job, found this opportunity within short order. It's like 3-month time frame, right? And the only person I hadn't told in my life was the one who was an entrepreneur, which was my father. And I have no idea why, right? It was like the fear of worrying him or something, because he knew how tough it was, or was he gonna see it as a 5-alarm fire, or do I have to take care? Like, do I have to worry about my son for the first time? As if he hadn't when I was in combat arms in the Marine Corps, but like,
yeah, right.
different stress, right? I was like, he already went through it. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, so very nonsensical kind of fear associated with it. And I have this excellent business coach, Alicia Huck, that I've known for years. And I can also say is both a colleague and a friend. And she was on the call with me, and I'm blurting out all of this powerful, like, why entrepreneurship resonates with me because of my father and growing up in that way. And she's like, pause. Did you ever tell him? And I was like, no, we don't do that in our household.
Right.
I'm Irish and Italian. We don't talk about that. Like, we just like,
Wait, pause. You're Irish and Italian?
oh yeah, very much
I did
so.
not know that. So am I.
Oh, I live, well, this is why we
This is why
tied.
this is why we understand each other so well.
Yeah,
Because we are a very unique breed.
absolutely. And it's a very unique breed in that parents, in my experience, parents will tell the other kid how proud they are of the other sibling, right? And they will not do it directly. And that's at least how my father and his whole side of the house operated, right? Was my sister knew how awesome he thought I was, and I knew how awesome he thought my sister was. And so
agreed. I don't have siblings,
Yeah.
but I saw that happen with my dad.
Yeah.
100%. Oh, that's funny. Okay, sorry, go on.
No,
So,
absolutely, absolutely. Important part.
It was.
And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll like tell him at some point. She's like, hang up the phone, call him right now. No, stop. You won't call him. Path of least resistance, Alex. Send him like an MP3, like voice memo. And voice memos like weren't as popular as they are now, as far as I'm concerned. It was my first voice memo ever. So I'm like shaky. I don't know how to. I'm like so confused. I'm like, what if he doesn't know how to listen to this? And I just kind of like poured my heart out for like 2 minutes. And I was like, well, this is what it is. Like, I'd never done that with him like that. And we had a phone call, I think like the next day. And I can't remember what the exact text was, but also maybe that background helps. Like, you might get a lot of I love yous from parents in that ecosystem, but you're not going to get a lot of I'm proud of you. And there was
ever and I'm proud of you. Right.
Yeah, there was a left hook out of nowhere in the text response, like, hey, I'm going to call you and I'm so incredibly proud of you. And I was like, whoa, this is different. Where was this hiding? And so we had this really good, probably the most powerful conversation I'd ever had with him. And he ends it by saying, knock 'em dead, basically. Like, whatever you're going to pursue, like, just knock it out, like, go for it. So that's something that is a mantra that you can take away from, I think is really important. And the tragedy behind that, but the silver lining as well, is that was the last conversation I ever had with him. And had I not had that, I mean, I don't know where I would be with feeling any sort of regret or conversations. And so that conversation and how everything would subsequently pan out in the next 3 months of him passing, really sealed the deal for me. I was like, this is unequivocally, like, unwaveringly what I'm going to do.
Wow.
And so I know that may have been a little bit longer to get to the point, but I think it does. I think it does end up being these really big, powerful stamp moments that you might have a bunch of breadcrumbs along the way, and you might not be confident in doing it perfectly, which I would say do, but sometimes it can be familiar, sometimes it can be circumstantial, and that's what it was for me. It was both.
Wow. There's two things that came up that I want to just touch on. The first one you just shared, and I think it's so important for people to hear what you just said, that you talked about a time in your life that was extremely tragic. I mean, losing a parent, I've lost both my parents, so I understand.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. It's very painful, very hard. So many ways that we can go back and look at all the things that we didn't do and we didn't say.
Mm-hmm.
And you were able to take this tragedy and find the positive in it, right? You like, yes, it was horrible. And you had an amazing opportunity to have that conversation with him. So I love that you're able to kind of talk through that. And I can see that you're not, yes, I'm sure you're sad you miss him, of course, but it's not this devastating event that you're still holding on to because you didn't do the things. And I think it's so important that we do have those conversations and we do the things with the people that we love, whether it's in business or family. You've got to just step outside of your comfort zone sometimes and have those hard conversations or do the things that feel really uncomfortable. Like, that was a very uncomfortable conversation for you. And I feel like that's the places that we grow in life. And so just relating it to business, if you're not pushing yourself and you're not doing something every day that makes you feel extremely uncomfortable, you're not growing. You're not growing as a person, and you're not growing your business. So I'm so grateful to hear that you did that. Amazing that your friend pushed you to do that. And I appreciate that you shared that with us. Thank you.
No, absolutely. And kind of a three-part rebuttal. Of course, I miss him, right? But I don't have any regret associated. So that's the number one. And that's because of number two. Like, do it now.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is. Like, just do it as succinctly and as simply and as small of an action as you need to. And that's okay. Like, get it done in that way. Because if you don't, like, otherwise when, right? And make that, thirdly, your default to just get the little action done. If you're like, hey, I need to send this complex lender email, there's a lot of attributes and elements to it. No, just send the acknowledgement. And then maybe answer 1 or 2 points and be like, hey, I'm going to get back to you on these other points. And just leave it there, because you're going to feel so much better that you did that. And all together, like something that taught me with my father passing and the subsequent events before, during, and after, was that something you can apply to business, personal, whatever, is that grief and love are the same thing, in my opinion. And you can have that for your business. You can have that for a product, a service, a capital raise that went wrong, something that went awry, a challenge that you don't feel like you approach perfectly. Grief is all the unexpressed love you have for something, right? And love is the presence of mind to know that you will lose it, right? So if you're present with your partner, or if you're present with your children, if you're present with whatever is driving you in your personal life, you know that those things, like I look at my dog every day and I'm like, you will die. I love you so much, you will die. So, and that's okay. Or you look at your partner and you go, man, one of us is going to die. It's probably me first. And so I should really, really appreciate this. And I love that in the presence of mind. And the same thing can be with something that passes, whether it's an opportunity or person. Your grief is all the unexpressed love you have for that. That's not a bad thing. Let it ride. It's just, and at some point you're going to be like tumble dishwashered, just like you're surfing in a big wave that you don't expect right after a really good one. It doesn't matter. There's highs and lows, and we'll probably talk about that on this podcast as well. But I just wanted to get that tidbit for any of your listeners that feel like it might be a little overwhelming, or they're not sure if they're in the middle of the tumbling wave or if they're in a good spot. It doesn't matter. It's all relevant there.
Wow. Thank you. That was
You're welcome.
really, really thoughtful and super great advice. It's true. It's so easy, whether you're a business owner or you have a W-2 or you're a stay-at-home parent. We're constantly, all day, every day, we're looking at our actions and we're questioning them. It's just human nature. And it's true. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're riding the wave or you're tumbling underneath the wave, it's all the same. And it's just how we perceive it and what we do with it. I love your analogy on love. And that was pretty neat.
Yeah. Love and grief are
Love
really
and
important. They're the same thing. Don't treat them differently. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm going to listen to that part again. I really love that.
Good.
Something that you said a couple of times that I want to touch on before I go into my next question, super, super important. You said, you use the words that you're action oriented and that you already were because you kind of grew up in that lifestyle. But that's not the case for everybody, right? A lot of folks become an entrepreneur because they want to change the trajectory of their life. They want to change the history of their past, right? Maybe they came from a home where their parents were not action oriented, right? They had the same job that they had from high school. They really didn't have much motivation. They go to work, they come home, they sit on the sofa, they watch TV, and they do it all over again. But you have to take action to be successful in anything. And you brought up a great point about doing something, right? So there's that saying that imperfect action is better than no action. I know that you're an action taker, but I'm sure you get stuck, like all of us, in those moments where the thing is so big and you just don't even know where to begin, or you've got so many things that need actionable steps. And it's like, "Ugh, where do I begin?" What do you tell yourself? Do you have like a mantra that you tell yourself? Do you have something that you do that when that happens, you're like, all right, Alec, remember, this is how we handle this?
Absolutely. Another really good question. And something that I would acknowledge first before you even tell yourself any mantra necessarily is that if you feel disadvantaged, you are anyways, just accept that. But so what? Like,
Big deal.
genuinely. So, okay, cool. Like, operate not on that. Like, if you're going to spend your time and energy, you might as well. I think Bill Burr said it. He was like, if stuff's going to go wrong, you might as well just enjoy it till it does and then handle it then. I love that. And
That is so true. Yes.
and so that drives me to be default action oriented in that I know that none of what I do now in my career, and I have a privilege of understanding that, and you may from Wildland, the Wildland work you did as well, is
Yeah.
that none of this will kill me. Like, this job will not kill me anymore.
No.
The only thing that could kill me is an accident crossing the street at this point, and that's like, sure, like statistically, I'm just in danger as everybody else, but this will not kill me like it may have in a previous career.
That's right.
And I know not everybody has that. And I know that not everybody has that direct mindset and tool and practice to be able to go back on. But my job in combat arms was life or death matter. That no longer is the case for a perspective that drives my everyday, like how I face challenges and how I
Yeah.
might otherwise operate. But you can do the same thing. You can do the absolute same thing under some motivational guise. Like, what do you want for your children? What do you want your life to be without future casting too much to the point where you lose the present, right? Because
Right.
that can just detonate everything in your life. And I see that so commonly.
Very
But
true.
while you're being present, you also need to acknowledge that you will die. And at some point, but this won't kill you. And that's okay. That's awesome. And so that mindset coupled with, say, a practical tool like time blocking has really changed my work productivity. It's something that I think we talk about, but we don't implement. And it took iterations. I have several family calendars. My wife and I have our individual ones, and then we have a mutual non-negotiable one. I have money-making tasks. I have general business tasks, and then I have subsequent ones after that, depending on what I'm working on. And be critical. Be very tough with yourself. Audit your time. Expand it, right? I've left a lot more time for this podcast than I maybe was on the books because I value the time with you. And I know that this is going to be a really good catalyst and propellant far beyond the moment here and
Yeah.
where I can reach otherwise. And to answer your question again, that practice that people don't have that did change my life as well, a softer, more spiritual or emotional side of the house is, can you be grateful for whatever is happening? I was walking down the street with a good friend of mine. He's also a personal trainer that I've worked with in the past. And he was looking to join the Marine Corps. And so we were just talking it out, walking around, and I had a coffee in my hand. And I spilled it, but I didn't spill it on my shirt, but I spilled it all over my hand. I go, oh, dang it. How awesome is that? That is just evidence of how awesome I am that I didn't get that on my shirt. I just wiped my hand off on the grass. And he like looked at me because we had just had a conversation about men getting help and talking to each other or therapy or whatever that looked like for men, right? And he goes, man, I've never seen a better practical application of someone who's had some sort of therapy or some sort of awakening in my life. You
Yes.
just spilled coffee on your hand and told yourself how awesome you are. And you need to do that for yourself because you're it. Like, you're it. No one else is coming. Like, you, that is a mantra I have. This won't kill me. No one else is coming. So what? Like, get it done.
I love it. It's the truth.
Yeah.
It really is. No one's coming. It's all you. And you just got to do it. You know, that saying the magic is in the work we're avoiding. I don't know if that's a Mason Morby phrase or if he picked it up somewhere else. But when I finally listened to that, I had it on a sticky note on my computer. I looked at it all the time. I didn't do anything about it. And one day I was really just like, oh, what am I doing? And I looked at it and I go, maybe you should try that.
Yeah.
Try that. And I kind of, to your point, there were these things that I had to do. I was still doing lots of private money lending at that time, doing a lot of connecting. There were these higher level conversations I had to have that just seemed overwhelming at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided, again, taking that like imperfect action is better than no action model. And I just said, just send the thing, just send something. Just like as soon as you've sent it, you can check it off the list, right? Because the list doesn't say, send the most perfect response to this email. It just says respond to the email. Just freaking respond to the email, Tracy. Just do it, right? So I love that you bring all that up. The gratitude piece. Guys, look, if you're not yet practicing gratitude, if you don't have a gratitude practice built into your day, like of all the things you take away from this podcast, try it. Just try it. Just spend 30 seconds a day finding some very simple things to be grateful for. It could be the fact that you didn't spill the coffee on your shirt, that you have electricity. Like that's an easy one, right? Like if you're watching this, you have electricity because you're watching this, right? You could be in the Philippines, but you found a place where you have electricity. Like that's a cool thing to be grateful for. Our health. I mean, there's so many little things. I think we get caught up, just back to your point of just send the email. It doesn't have to be perfect. We get caught up in, okay, well, I'm going to start a gratitude journal. Like I need a journal, right? That takes you a week to find the right journal, right? I got the journal. Oh my, I have so many things to be grateful for. Like it's going to take me hours. Just one thing, like just one thing a day that you find that you're grateful for, write it down. It will truly change your perspective because you're building that muscle memory so that when you do spill the coffee, you're not like, damn, I spilled coffee. You're going, whew, I'm so glad I didn't do that. I did not spill that on myself. I'm a rock star. So I love that.
I'm glad.
Let's dive into another question.
Absolutely. Please go right ahead.
All right. We talk a little bit about social media and how it's really easy to see the highlight reels, right? I mean, that's what we post, right? For the most part. I try to be really thoughtful about posting reality, posting the real things that are happening, but I also post a lot of the great things. So, but there are a lot of folks that they're just posting the highlights, right? But that is absolutely not what it's about. I feel like, especially when you're getting started in business and as an entrepreneur, there's a lot more challenging times than there are positive times. There's a lot of, and I say that with a grain of salt because I think a lot of us watching, we do know how to shift our mindset, and it's not everything that happens is for a reason, and there's always positivity that can come out of it. But you're climbing a hill every day, and there's some days where you are at the part of that hike that is just steep. It's a 90-degree angle. It's slate. You're sliding back for every 2 feet up, you go a foot down. But we don't post that, right? What people see is they see I made it to the top, right? So along this journey for you, I know you've had a lot of times where you've been sliding back and sliding back. What are the tools that you've used to really help you kind of get out of those situations, keep your mindset positive, and just keep on trudging?
Oh, absolutely. You're full of great questions, I gotta say. Yeah.
I like to provoke. I mean, you know me, I'm always like
I
poking
do.
the bear.
This is right. This is your thing. 100%.
This is my
This is
thing.
right up your alley. And one thing that I would say first that maybe isn't a tool, but again, not everybody needs to shift. Like in our ecosystem, not everybody needs to shift their mindset. They're kind of in the
That's true.
trench. They're in the pit of despair doing the thing, right?
Yep.
Like if you're not in the pit of despair doing the thing yet, what it feels like is the challenge. That awkward, uncomfortable, I don't know what to do next. How do I approach it? I don't know what color to buy for the gratitude journal. Like, call it something else. Call it I'm an awesome person list. of 2 things a day that I say during the day.
Yes.
Be annoyed, be unwaveringly like, I'm outstanding, or be unwaveringly like, man, I don't get tired. How cool is that? My wife hears this from me all day, every day, and I'm sure she would rather hear other things from me at this point, but I bet you she doesn't want to hear negative crap, because when we first started dating, I the pivotal point, or like one of the many pivotal points I knew I was going to marry her, was she was talking to me, and I was going through, we were on a date, we're going through something, and I just self-deprecated back to back to back to back. That was my way of joking at the time, right? And she just stopped me and was like, don't do that. Like, your brain doesn't know the difference. And
Yes.
I was like, dang, okay, yeah, done. All right. So the deal. And I think that that mindset shift is the tool, right? And because I've lost friends and family to tragedies or suicide, just accidents, and you strained relationships in your family and romantic relationships. And those things might very well happen otherwise, but may happen as an effect of what you're doing as well.
Yeah.
And putting everything on the line, putting everything on the line like that, you can lose your mind, but also find your peace in the process. And know that there's a really positive way to approach that from a tool standpoint. And again, getting a little organized, starting a little bit at a time, that time blocking, being and saying, hey, how awesome I am at least once a day, like get to that, because there are lots of opportunities for that you are going to have that you're not going to feel awesome. And if I could, with a story there, like from the trench, right? There was a point in my business where I had taken the leap, and I had gone from being on a retainer with a mixed use developer. We had nuzzled our way in as kind of their R&D, their research and development, to take old commercial plazas and turn them into transitional assistance programs, or for feeding, housing, education, and healthcare for veterans. And along that journey, we had gotten written off, or not, we were written off at the time, but we had eventually, through help formulating these RFPs and all these meetings with municipal leaders and senators that I never had I was 20 years old, 20 years old, couldn't have a sip of alcohol. I'd just gotten back from one of my deployments, was going to go on another one shortly, and thought I could do this thing, but I did. I was there. Like, it had nothing to do with deserving at that point. So take that, like, there's things to unravel and pull out of yourself. And to go from that $250 million contract that we were able to attain for that in the Northeast, to, hey, fast forward a couple of years, I'm older, wiser, but I have $73 in the bank account. I screenshotted it at the time. I was like, remember this. I was like, this moment is going to come up at some point. You're going to be able to use it. And the very next day, we closed a deal that netted $50,000 from capital raising, right? And then in short order after that, I managed to, on a development opportunity that was absolutely a slam dunk, but something tragic was happening to me once again. I lost $40,000 in non-refundable EMD while my grandfather was sick and dying in the hospital. I'd flown from Florida to New York to be with him, and I was running around with my hair. So I went from running around with my hair on fire trying to get $74 in the bank account, to celebrating out at dinner with my wife about closing the deal, to then one of the lowest moments on the phone talking to Jade Jarvis and Tigger and the Gator community on the phone outside of the nursing home, when the nurse walked outside and was like, sir, you should come inside. And that was the moment, right? And so you go from a high point to a stressful moment several years later, to the highest of highs to lowest of lows. And I say that never to brag or to complain, but to tell you that nonlinear journey, and over several years, right? And also some of those nodes very close to one another. And again, that tool, I would say, is something softer. It's resilience, it's consistency, and your calendar, are going in and holding yourself accountable to the task. Like, I'm just going to get 3 things done today. I'm not going to procrastinate all day, but I'm going to try and get those 3 things checked off as soon as humanly possible and as simply or as small as humanly possible and get it done. And I would say that is the real practical tool is you. And I wouldn't say it's your complex CRM. I wouldn't say it's your systems or processes that you're building out. Those will help, but if you do not follow them, they do not matter. So I know that was a very long-winded potential answer to that, but I think the story ties in really distinctly with why it matters to have those things in the background, because there are ups and downs. Like, you're very human and everybody around you is very human and they don't always know what they're doing either. So remember that when you're doing it. Like, it has nothing to do with deserving.
Yeah, so true. So many points there that I want to touch on. You first talked about the piece of well, I'm going to back up.
Sure.
So one of the last things you just said, right, in talking about the tools, right, and really we are our greatest tool in all honesty. And there are highs and lows. I don't, whether you have a W-2 or you're a business owner, life is just full of these ups and downs. And you can lean into them and grow from them and learn from them, or you could shy away from them and you could be frustrated and negative about them. And that self-deprecating piece that you shared in the beginning, that where your wife was like, just stop. We all need to hear that, because I think that is truly for me, and I think probably for you and most people that have been able to make the shift, that is the biggest shift for me that changed my life, was that piece alone, was catching and I still to this day, I'm not saying that I don't do this anymore. I catch myself multiple times a day saying the thing in the negative, saying, damn it, I spilled the coffee, instead of, wow, look at how cool I didn't spill it on myself. I catch myself saying, God, Tracy, really? Or, oh, you're so stupid that you would do that. But I now have the probably that muscle memory where I can catch it. Often I don't fully even say the thing. I can catch it and I can rephrase it. And it takes time. It's really hard. I'm in my 50s, and I only probably the last 10 years started really learning about these tools. I grew up in an Irish Italian, very verbally abusive home, and there was no there was I love yous, but it was so like surface level, right? There was no true connection feeling. And so there was no I'm proud of you or you're doing a great job or any of that stuff. It was quite the contrary. So it's taken me a really long time. And when I learned that was such a pivotal piece of growth, I also started to realize how often I self-deprecate, how often I talk down to myself, how often I take the negative side of things. And I know for people listening, you're probably going, no, there's no way that's Tracy Koa does that. Because you typically see me as a positive person. That's how most people go, oh, you're so positive and you're motivational. And I am. And it's a lot of work. And so as we talk about this, I always like to stress to people that this is a journey, and you just need to take one little step a day in the right direction. Like you said, just reiterating, do one thing a day. It doesn't have to be big. Just do the thing and be really proud of yourself that you did it. And if you're at a high in your life or in business and you've got the energy and you could do 5 things and you're doing the thing, great, do it. But when you're in that lull, don't beat yourself up. Use it as an opportunity to rest, to rejuvenate, and to get yourself ready for the high, because it's coming. You're down there. The climb is going to start again. And we know it's hard, but it's okay, because eventually the climb gets a little bit easier and a little bit easier. We build our stamina, we build our cardio, we can go further and higher for a longer distance, right? You're going to slip back down again. Don't worry. I promise you about that one. But, I think, the two things is like, take the action, no matter how big or small. And I would also stress, be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself. When you catch yourself doing the things that you wish you weren't doing, be kind to yourself and be grateful that you can even recognize it. Because maybe before this podcast, you didn't even recognize that you were doing that to yourself. So if you're even recognizing it now for the first time, kudos to you,
Yeah. And maybe
Yeah.
to a point, just before we transition topics, like you in your case have 50 years of practicing that, hey, I'm being told I love you, I self-deprecate, and there's 5 alarm fires everywhere all over. And with a similar experience on my side of the house, with having this Marine Corps level of cruelty that I can apply to myself constantly, coupled with however you grew up, right? You might have 20, 30, 50, 70 years of bad practice, but it does not mean that your breakthrough isn't closer than you think. Like, it really can be. It really can be right around the corner. It can be that last imperfect email, and then boom, you go from $73 to $50,000 in the bank account, and you have proof of concept of how awesome you are, because all of a sudden coffee starts missing your shirt. I'm like a Jedi. I don't know how it happens.
You're such a Jedi, dude. I love it. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I do have a lot of viewers that are women around my age, and a lot of us were stay-at-home moms, and you're getting back into life, right? A lot of folks know that right now my daughter's going off to college. Huge transition. I only have one kiddo, so I'm in that empty nester, as they like to call it, phase. And it's a whole crazy new thing, right? And in women as moms, we have a very unique role in life, whether you're working or stay at home. As our kids grow, they go off and do their thing, right? And if we've done the job well, we're really excited for them to watch their journey. And we're also a little sad, because we're going to miss them, and we probably have built a really good relationship with them, right? And so here we are, and it's like, now what?
Yeah.
What do I do now, right? And it's hard to think about learning new things, and personal growth is a big new journey, right? And
Absolutely.
I am here to say that you can do it. It doesn't matter, like you said, if you're 50, you're 80, you're 100. If you want it to be different, you can make it different. If you want to change the trajectory of relationships, of your business, of your, personal outlook on yourself, you can do that. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter your physical condition. It doesn't matter your mental condition. It's all possible. And it's like you said, just you are the tool. I just want to reiterate that, like, starting with the things that give you the opportunity to have the space. And I think you brought up the calendar a few times, and I'm really glad I didn't touch on that. But if you haven't read Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time, and you're a business owner, it's truly a phenomenal book. And just generally speaking, no matter where you are in your life, doing a quick look at your time, right? How are you spending your time? Where are the places that you're spinning your wheels? Where are the places that you're getting caught up in? And how can you pivot from that, right? And give yourself some more space to do the things that you love. I mean, I definitely feel like we don't value in our culture doing things that bring us joy. And I know personally, I didn't do that, right? I found myself for many years kind of being a martyr. Well, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. Oh, I can't do that. I don't have time for that. Or I can't afford that. And it wasn't until I really caught myself one day and was like, wow, is that who you want to be? You want to be somebody that's never doing the things that they love because you're too busy, or you don't have the money, or and you're literally creating that scenario because you're putting that energy out in the universe. You just keep telling the universe, No, I just don't ever want to do those things, right? And so, just shifting that mindset just a
Mm,
little bit. And again, it doesn't matter your age, the money you have in the bank, your health, like none of that matters, right? We all have it up here to do it. So I think we'll wrap it up with this last question because
sure.
we can go on forever. And I
I'm
really
sure.
and just love just so many amazing nuggets. You have such a positive outlook on life. You've been through a lot. Just being in the military alone and your role in the military, I can only imagine um, you could have gone down a very different road with your mindset, just with that
Hmm.
part of your life alone. And you
Hmm.
chose not to, and it is a choice. And I really honor and respect that.
I
But
appreciate that deeply. Yeah.
yeah, you're welcome. It's true. I really respect that so deeply. And just kind of, I want to just bring it back around. Like one of the reasons that I just fell in love with you is because you are a keeping it 100 kind of guy. And I love, like, those are the people I want to be around. So for me, keeping it 100, I came up with the name of this podcast because to me, it really means just being real about the journey, whatever that looks like, the wins, the losses, just those moments that you're just barely getting through, and then how you're choosing um, to share the truth over your image, right? It's very easy. You're in a very similar
Mm.
boat. You have a successful business, you've got great social media, great partnerships, and we could just stand up all day long and put the filters on and
Mm.
pretend it's amazing, but we don't, but we're real. Share with me, if you will, and our listeners, what keeping it 100 means to you.
Absolutely. And I think I would encourage your listeners to ask themselves, who can they be 100% themselves with, unfiltered, even unhinged? Like I'm unhinged with you most of the
I
times that
love
I'm speaking with you. And
it.
Tracy, you as one of my colleagues, but also one of my dear friends, I thought of you first amongst others, but I really thought of you first when I thought about trying to just now answer this question. And I'm not surprised at all that you have this platform and that you're approaching life and that you embody this keeping it 100, because it's so incredibly and inherently you. But I don't want people listening to go, oh, that's not me. That's the exact opposite of the effect we just told you to shift on yourself. And for all of those mothers who are empty nesters, for all the people stuck in their grind at work and they want to move out, or any of whatever your challenge is, you've already done the hardest part. You've already done the grinding away at that thing, and the process is the same, but there can be an outsized return. And again, I don't believe in luck. Like, I think that you do actions and have thoughts that yield a certain workflow, put you in a place where you're exposed to this environment. Like, even if you get lucky, quote unquote, and you win the lottery, you still walked to the store, bought the ticket. And I want you to appreciate yourself in that way. And when you're a millionaire or billionaire, okay, then you can talk about how lucky you were and you can forget that it was actually all the little steps that you did. But all those little steps, 80% of it tastes like chicken, is something that I like to say a lot. And like, if you're good, if you've been a mother, or if you've worked a W-2 job, or if you've ever gone on a hike, I don't care what it is, 80% of you doing anything really just tastes like chicken. Like,
I love
just leverage that. Like,
I'm stealing that, dude. I'm stealing that.
80% of what I do tastes like chicken when it comes to raising money for real estate or when it comes to businesses. It's the same pieces of paper, it's the same due diligence, it's just different names, and it's not as scary as you think. Like, not everybody knows the answers, not everybody knows you super well, so you have to know yourself, and you have to ask yourself, who can you be 100% with, and surround yourself with those people. And life is this big, beautiful game. There's 8 billion people on earth and there's trillions of options. So if you can pick anything or anyone in this world to operate with in your personal or professional life, choose wisely and not get done. Like, that's all I can say about that, I suppose.
Yeah, I love it. I'll reiterate, if you don't feel like you can keep it 100 with the people you're around, you need new people. Now, I understand at our W-2, sometimes that's different, right? And I can appreciate that. But the people that you choose to be around, you got to be able to keep it 100 with them. And it is interesting when you let your guard down, even with the people you think you can't. It's very interesting how they tend to open up. I've had it happen many times as an educator where I've always kind of been a this is me person. You might not love it, but that's okay. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to be rude. I'm not going to be disrespectful, but I am going to be honest. And it is interesting. I've found a lot of times people will open up and they will go, your vulnerability allowed me to feel like I could be vulnerable. And that's a very special thing when you can be the catalyst for somebody else feeling vulnerable. So as hard as it can be some days, I can't help myself. I just keep it 100. Alec, thank you for being on here. What a blessing to have you.
And for the opportunity to spend some time with one of my dear friends and colleagues and share it with everybody who's listening. I'm humbled by anybody who's willing to click on this and spend some of their valuable life energy listening to me blab about my experience, right? So like if this serves you, please keep listening, support Tracy in whatever you can. If you're interested in anything I'm doing, you can find me as Alec Walsh on LinkedIn and YouTube, on Facebook, and Alec Walsh 15 on Instagram. If you really like anything that we do, we have 1 and 2 day workshops that we run about every 6 to 8 weeks. So they're pretty frequent. We're trying to expand out of Florida, but if you want a little vacation, we're here in beautiful South Florida, in Palm Beach. So use the excuse, do it now. And that's not just me trying to sell the dream, it's because I love it here. And
it is,
yeah. So
beautiful there. And remember, you can write it off, people. So
you can.
There's that.
Take advantage.
Yeah, guys, definitely spend some time checking out Alec's social media. Check out his YouTube. As you can tell, he's an eloquent speaker. He's got a lot of history. He might look young, but he's wise man. He is young, but wise beyond your years.
Thank you.
So guys, thank you for keeping it 100 with us today. As you know, this is the conversation where we are just open and real. And if it moved you today, maybe it made you think or reminded you that you are not alone, do us a favor. Share this with somebody that you think needs to hear it. Remember that no matter where you're starting from, your story matters. Your journey is valid. And the hard parts, they're often the most powerful parts. So till next time, keep showing up, keep staying real, but most of all, keep it 100. Thanks, Alec.
Thank you, Tracy.